Welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human. Now I got this Godspeed for $5 at Ross last week. And we're gonna use the head, obviously, for the question. What we're gonna do with the body, though, is I've decided to turn this guy into a Cyclops from the X-Men. This will be my first Marvel character. Very excited because Cyclops is my favorite. And we're gonna use this body. We're gonna use this head, which is the remnants of a Booster Gold head. It'll be perfect for making the visor. And we're gonna use this jacket that we originally used on Grifter that is now just sitting around. So I'm not gonna make this guy your standard Cyclops, like the classic for the 90s. I'm gonna make this guy the Grant Morrison new X-Men version with the jacket. So this will be a little bit different, but I like that version a lot, and I've never seen anybody do it. So there's a first time for everything. Let's go ahead and make this happen. And now we got the beginnings of Cyclops. Got the jacket on. This guy's gonna turn out awesome. I had a little bit of milliput left over from another figure, and so before I need to do his hair, but there's not enough. But what I decided to do is I'm gonna put in the X symbol here. So I've glued this in place. I'm just gonna go through with the X-Acto knife. I'm gonna go around the edges and I'm gonna try and form the X symbol right here on his belt buckle. And I think that is a good use of this milliput. I don't like to waste anything, especially milliput, because it's awesome. Got some milliput here for the symbol on his chest and for the hair, so I'm going to glue that in place. What I did is I just took a Green Lantern symbol and I was able to get it so that it's a circle. And I'm going to do it again so we can just make sure that this is an actual circle. I want it to be as perfect as we can make it. And then I'm going to cut in the X sign before it dries. And then we will put on the hair. We're about to prime this guy, but I'm going to put a little line here on his, what's going to be his visor, because I'm going to take my sander and I'm going to sand in like a hole, or like a line right here. And I want it to be precise. And then let's take him out and prime him. Yeah, not perfect, but it's okay. So you can see we did a pretty good job of getting it straight, but we're not really going to be able to tell how good it's going to look until we get the gold painted. So I'm going to do gold because I want this to look metallic, and that will really show us just how well we did, or if we need to use some milliput or something else, because it cut through the white and gouged in here a little bit. So once we get this all painted gold, we'll have a much better idea of whether or not we're going to need to milliput or do anything else. So let's just move through here, get this moving, and hopefully it will turn out the way we want. So he's looking pretty good. I decided to just paint it all gold for now so that I can kind of get a better feel for it. Let's go ahead and put the red in there and see what we got. We're going to use neon, and I think that's going to, brighten things up and make it look really nice. A little bit of red in here, and let's see what we got. Obviously, you're going to have to touch some stuff up with the gold afterward. That's always how it is. But this will get us so that we can get a good feel for exactly how this guy's going to end up looking. The mask's not perfect. I'm probably going to have to sand it down a little bit. But while we're here, let's go ahead and do his hair. Get all nice and browned up so that Cyclops can really start taking shape. And then we can start in on the body. Now we're just going to gray this up. In the comics, underneath the jacket, the shirt is gray, and so we're going to gray this up, and then I'm going to gunmetal gray these little fun details from the Godspeed figure. This isn't going to be exact because he's going to still have the in the new X-Men comic, Cyclops was very much, he just kind of wore the sunglasses. And with this, obviously with the head that we're using, it'll be a little bit more, he'll have a more of a classic look, but that's okay with me. Let's just go through and get this guy grayed up. He might need a little bit darker gray. This is a really light gray. And if the color's not working out the way that you want it to, don't be afraid to go back over and do something a little bit darker. Add some black to it or something. Now that's more of the gray I was looking for. So I just added some black to that same gray, and now we're in business. And while I've got this amount of gray here, I'm going to gray up this. This is the part I was talking about. So in the comic, in the new X-Men comics, he doesn't have this sort of mask part on. He just has the glasses. But obviously we're using this Booster Gold head, and so he will. And so that's what we're going to go with. It's totally fine. This is my version. It doesn't need to be comic accurate. If I really wanted it to be comic accurate, I could do any number of things. But for now, I'm okay with this being this way. Now we're going to move on to the pants. Just do a very dark gray on those so that it looks different than the top, because the interior is, up here is a gray, and then down here is more of a black. I'm using an obsidian, but on this white it should come out as a dark gray, which is what I want. I don't want it to be straight black, just because I think it'll be a little bit more interesting looking if it's a little bit more of a gray. And so I think this is the perfect paint to use for that purpose. This one I'm just using an acrylic paint, so I'm not using Vallejo because I'm just going for a lot of coverage. And this paint will work just fine on this, especially with the primer. It will be perfect, so I don't need to waste my really high quality Vallejo paint on something that's just a lot of coverage like this. The arms in the jacket get the exact same treatment, except up here where it'll be yellow. Let's go ahead and start on the yellow. The X here is yellow, the jacket is yellow, and I think I'm going to go over here with some of the yellow too. It's too metallic. I'm going to deaden it down a little bit. I want it to have some metallic look to it, but not that much of a metallic look. Oh, look at how much of a difference that makes just right off the bat. The one thing I've decided to do is that the Godspeed had these little extra golden things right here. I'm going to hit these with gunmetal gray. That's just going to make them shine a little bit more and stand out amongst the rest of everything. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do it on the legs too, and just hit these things with some gunmetal gray, and it will make them so they're metallic and they stand out. So I've gone through with some gunmetal gray on these little areas here in order to make it stand out. This symbol is silver though in the comics, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to add some silver here to just, because he had kind of a belt sort of thing. I wasn't really going to worry about that too much. Yeah. While I've got a little bit of silver left, I'm going to go through and hit this zipper. Because stuff like that, sometimes you don't think you're going to notice. It's like, oh, no big deal. But when you go through and do it, it ends up looking pretty dang cool. I'm going to spray him with an enamel, but we got to choose some hands for him. I got this great carrying case that I found in my garage. And so we just need to find the right hand and then get them on him. Hopefully I can find something like this so I can just drill a hole and stick it in there, but we'll see. I've decided I don't like how thick the visor is, so I'm going to use a little bit of Milliput, and we are going to fix it before we call it good. Now what I'm going to do is with the X-Acto knife, I'm going to mold in the visor. Because when I cut it using the sander, I didn't have the control and it was too thick, and so this way will give me the control that I want. Right, that's looking more like what I wanted, a thinner visor. So let's get this guy painted now. Well, I'm glad I decided to do this because I like this much better with this thin visor. So I'm using some very liquidy paint to get into this hole so that it can be what I want. And then we'll paint over the rest. So it doesn't look great right now, but it will. Let's move on to the hair and the visor. Let's get this hair done. Before I go over with the gold, we're going to go over first with the yellow, because we want to have a base color here so that when the gold goes over the top, we don't have problems with the red. Right now, I'm just adding a little bit of black in some of these recessed areas just to make the jacket have a little bit more life to it. Make it look more like a leather jacket. It's subtle, but it works. Just doing a really light dusting of wash, just of the black game wash on the jacket, just to tone down the yellow a little bit. It's so bright that it's kind of like, it just makes him look not quite so real. Last but not least, the gold. I want this to look metallic, and I also want this X to look a little bit more metallic. So I'm just going to do a nice light layer over the top so that it stands out and doesn't look like plastic, but it looks like metal. And we got Cyclops. I'm really happy with how this guy turned out. I love Cyclops. He's my favorite. I collected X-Men comics up until probably, I don't know, just 5 or 6 years ago, and then I kind of stopped because I didn't like where they were going. So I've always loved Cyclops. He's always been my favorite. So it's great to have a new X-Men version of him, more or less, that I can put on the shelf with my X-Men. Now I'm going to look and see what other ones I can do, because with the jacket, this is perfect. Maybe I can do a Wolverine. I don't know. We'll play around. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe, tell your friends. All we do here is have fun and try and make some cool stuff, and I think we did that today. I'm Stephen Human. Check out stephenhuman.com for all of my novels, because I am a novelist. I write sci-fi thrillers. So if you like Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, that sort of stuff, it's right up your alley. I'll see you guys next week.